In this video, I'll be sharing with you a requested tutorial from my group on how to draft this stylish overlap top dress. So if this is something you like, kindly hit on the subscribe button. Let's dive right into today's video. So to start, I'll start from the back pattern, and I've gone ahead to mark out the basic measurements, which includes the shoulder to bust, under bust, waist, and blouse length. So choose any blouse length of your choice, or you can go down by 5 inches after your waistline. So after this, I'll go ahead and mark my shoulder divided by 2. Now I'll come down by 1 inch from this point, and after that I'm going to go ahead to connect. But before connecting my shoulder slope, I'll go ahead to mark my basic neckline of 3 inches, and I'll go ahead to connect this. The next step is to find your chest line, which is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Mine is 7 inches. I'll place my ruler and I'll go ahead to draw out a straight line. So after I'm done marking that, the next step I'm going to take is to go ahead to mark what I have on the shoulder back on the chest line, which is my shoulder divided by 2, giving me 7 inches. So I'll just go ahead and place my ruler and I'll draw a straight line at this point. So next, I'm going to divide what I have here into 2. Dividing here, what I have here is 7. Dividing it into 2, I have 3.5, come out by ½ inch. Here, I'll go ahead and mark my bust circumference divided by 4. My bust is 33 divided by 4. I have 8.3 inches. Now I'll go ahead and place my ruler, connecting this bust circumference to this ½ inch and all the way to the upper part of my shoulder. Now for the back, I'm going to just mark my sewing allowance. But before doing that, I'll come down for my neckline. I'll be using 1 inch for the depth of the neckline, and I'll go ahead to connect. After connecting, I'm going to go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4, add a sewing allowance. Now here I'm going to mark my waist circumference divided by 4. Here my other bust circumference is 28 divided by 4. I have 7. Then I'll add at least 1 inch or 1.5. This is more like a blazer blouse. It has that blazer type of effect, so you don't really need much sewing allowance for this type of dress. So I'll just go ahead and mark my waist circumference divided by 4 and add a sewing allowance. Here I'll mark my hip circumference. My hip is 40 divided by 4. I have 10, and add my sewing allowance. So what I'll do next is to go ahead to place and I will connect. So I'll just come up a bit here to give it that little slope. I'll just come up by 1 inch and I'll connect it back to the blouse length this way. So this is the back pattern and it's ready. All I will do is just to go ahead to cut it. So I'll be using this back pattern to cut out the front pattern of the dress. Then we'll go ahead to alter our pattern. In that way, it will make it easier to cut your pattern, to avoid going through the stress of redrafting your front pattern. And after cutting it out, all you have to do is to go ahead just to alter the front pattern to give you the design that you need at the front. That is all we're going to do for the front, so there's no much work. So this is the back pattern. Next, I'll place another pattern paper and we'll go ahead to trace this all out. Now I've placed this on another pattern paper. All I will do is to go ahead to trace it out. So if you look at that dress, it seems like there's no darts on it. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and use a side bust dart for it, which I'll blend it up at the bust area. Since we are using a bust dart at the side, so what I'll do is I'll add 1 inch to the length of the front pattern. So now let's go ahead to cut this out. So I'll just use the neckline we have here as a guide and cut this out, but I'll be extending it. So remember, what we just have here is a basic neckline of 1 inch. So I'll just go ahead and unpin my pattern. So before going ahead to unpin, I'm going to mark my bust, like my bust line. Because of the dart. So now you know that when we blend out your dart, it will take care of the extra 1 inch you blend out by this side. That's why we added 1 inch here. So what I'll do is this 1 inch here, I'll just go ahead and slope it out. Right, so the extra 1 inch is just for this side, so that when you blend it out, the front and the back will be matching. But if you don't want to add a dart to yours, you can just go ahead and cut out the exact size at this part of your pattern. So let's go ahead and open this up. So first we start with working on the dart by the side. So let me extend this line. So what I'll do now is to come down by 1 inch from here. And this is the center of my pattern. So from the center, I'll mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2. Which is, my nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5. So I'll mark it here. So now what I'll do is just go ahead to place my ruler and connect to that 1 inch point, and also come down by 1 inch here. So what we are trying to do is to blend out our side bust dart. So just like I said, if you don't want to use it, just cut out the exact size of the down part of the pattern. So what I'll do now is to mark 1/2 inch on both sides of this pattern, and I will extend it up. So which means I'll blend up this dart on this side, right? Blend up this dart on this side, and also for here I'm going to also repeat the same thing. So I'm just showing you if you're going to use a bust dart, because looking at that pattern, I do not really see a dart. Looking at the dress, I do not really see a dart on the pattern. So obviously, or probably there's a side bust dart on the pattern. So you can go ahead to blend it out before going ahead to work on your pattern. Or the second method, which if you don't want to use a dart at all, what you have to do is just to place this, and you're going to cut out the exact shape you have here before going ahead to alter the front pattern of your dress. So now let me go ahead to open this up, then we'll go ahead to now work on the front part of this pattern. So for this pattern, after opening it up, so you want to make sure that you note the center of your pattern. It is very important. So here is the center. Now for the neckline, from here I will come down at least to about 6.5 inches. So whatever I'm going to have, I'm going to give it like a little slant. It's not really going to be straight, right? Now after marking that, from here I will be coming down to that point. So what I'll do is to give it a nice curve. to give it a nice curve. So this is what I have on this point, at this point, sorry. So now I'm going to note the center line because it will serve as a guide. So after my waistline, I'm going to come down to around like 1 inch and mark that point. So now from here I'm going to go out a little and I'm going to now connect it down to this point. Okay, let me go with my free hand first, then before going ahead to use my ruler to blend it out very well. So now from this point, this is the center line. What I'll do is I'll go out at least by 1.5 inches on both lines, on both sides, and I'll place my ruler and connect. So this is what we have here. Now I'll just include those buttons that we have. Now obviously this is the pattern, but whatever we have here should have like an extra let's say like an allowance here, and so that this part of the dress will overlap this side. So you can place like another pattern paper and use your tracing wheel, but if you don't want to go through all those processes, all you have to do is just come out a bit and connect it. So which we are going to do now. So first I'll cut out this side. So this side is overlapping the other side. So even if you look at it, it's more like it's not open, it's more like it's placed together and stitched on top. So it should probably have like an overlap, something here for this part to overlap completely on the other side of the pattern. So let me go ahead to cut this out. So if you have any question, go ahead also to leave the question at the comment section. And if you haven't yet subscribed also, go ahead to hit on the subscribe button. So this is this side of my pattern. What I'll do is to place another pattern on it, another pattern paper on it, and then I will tape it up, blend it out. So just like I said, I'm going to add another pattern paper, which I did. So I'll come out at least by 1 inch, extra 1 inch, and I'll blend it back to this line this way, so that the blouse will have something to overlap on the other side of the pattern. So I'll just go ahead to cut this out. So if you now place it together this way, this is what you'll be having, right? So just like I said, this part will now overlap this part and it will now sit flat on the actual dress. So this is what the pattern looks like.